Hi, my name is Dr. Christopher J. Ward from the Kansas University Medical Center, and today I'm going to continue talking about our protocol to make amine-free immunoglobulin from hybridoma supernatant using protein G. Today we're actually going to go into the lab and we're going to use an AKTA Pure 150 to purify immunoglobulin from hybridoma culture supernatant. So basically, hybridoma culture supernatant is media which has had hybridomas growing in it. So the hybridomas use up the media so that the phenol red goes from being red color to yellow. But at the same time, they secrete immunoglobulin into the supernatant, and we really want that immunoglobulin as pure as we can. So protein G has a high affinity for the immunoglobulin and nothing else. So what we'll do is we take our cells growing in this supernatant, and it can be 1 or 2 liters of it, and we spin out the cells and then we filter the supernatant for a 0.2 micron filter. And we do this so that there's no debris that could possibly block up the tubing of the AKTA. And then we pump 1 or 2 liters at 5 mils a minute over a small protein G column from Cytiva. And then we wash with PBS and then we elute with acid. Hi there. So this machine here is AKTA, the 25M1, okay? And as you can see, it's got a fraction collector, it's got a big pump. This is the media that we're going to be purifying the immunoglobulin from on a protein G high trap column. You can see it's dedicated to 7012, this one. And then here's the actual machine here. Just to show you. This is the AKTA system. It's a huge improvement on what I used to work with, which was always leaking, and I had to get up in the middle of the night to sometimes fix it. This thing just works, it never leaks, or very seldom leaks, and you can do step or linear gradients on it. There's a whole variety of different columns, but what we're going to do is we're going to do affinity chromatography on this guy here, which is a protein G column, which will get the immunoglobulin out of that tissue culture supernatant, and it will be immobilized on this, and then we'll wash all the excess protein off, and then I'll elute it with acid. And in this case we're going to use pyruvic acid at pH 2.4. We're using pyruvic acid because it doesn't have any amines in it. And then we'll neutralize in trypsin, which doesn't have any primary amines either. Now the reason for that is that we don't want primary amines in our final antibody, because that will interfere with the labeling that we're going to attempt with NHS dyes, which are reactive towards amino groups. And if you've got a lot of free amino groups like tris or glycine around it, it just won't work. What I'm just going to do is just take all the lines and put them across into water. We're just going to clean the system through, get rid of all the alcohol that's in there, the 20% alcohol that we store everything in. Just like this. And then one trick I do is I just put something in the top just to make sure all the lines are down, like that. And then that's that, now we're ready. Okay, so all the lines are in water. So I'm just going to do a system SIP, which is clean in place. And I just press start, and it says what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go continue. So, and then we just have to make sure that everything is going into waste. Yeah, it is. Good. So we're just cleaning the system through, getting rid of all that 20% alcohol. It just stops bugs growing in the tubes. We're just washing the system through, getting rid of that alcohol, and we've got pump B2 on, and it's just washing through and getting rid of any alcohol. We're just putting water through it, and we'll do that with B1, B2, A1, A2, and with the sample. And once the water's all gone through, then we'll prime A1 with PBS and B1 with pyruvate, okay? And we'll wash the column, and then we'll switch the column across to the sample, and the sample will pump the media onto the column, and you'll see the column go red. And then after all the media's gone in, there'll be a bubble, and the bubble will be detected, and it will switch and it will wash it with PBS, and then once that's done, it will then switch it to the pyruvate buffer, which will elute it. And what we'll see is an increase in the OD to 280. We'll start to clip fractions at that point, and hopefully we'll have our pure polycystin antibody 7E12 there. Now it'll be coming off an acid, so we've got to neutralize that, and we'll be neutralizing that with tricine, which we'll actually have in the tubes that are collecting the fractions, so that when the acid comes off, it's neutralized immediately. So here's my colleague Anshika. She's just loading up the carousel here. So we're going to just collect the first few fractions that are coming off the column, and they'll be in acid. They'll be in pyruvic acid at pH 2.4. So we want to neutralize them immediately into tricine, 1 molar tricine at pH 8.2. And so we're getting 4 mil fractions off the column, and so we'll neutralize in 1.15 mils of tricine, 1 molar, pH 8.2, and that will bring it to about pH 7.5 or thereabouts. Okay, so it will neutralize it, and so the antibodies won't be exposed to acid for very long. So thank you very much, Anshika. Hi. This here is a protein G column, okay? It's a high trap protein G column, and we're going to use it to purify some antibodies. And so the first thing we've got to do is just break open the bottom like this, okay? And then we take off the top. Then what we have to do is actually have the machine running, and then put in the connection to the machine, and then wash through with PBS, okay, and equilibrate it with PBS first before we put the medium on. So this is a protein G column from Cytiva, okay. Very expensive, so we've got to be quite careful with it, okay. So let's go to the machine. The first thing I've got to do is I've got to start the pump. I'll just do that. Okay. And it's going through from connection number 1. Okay. Put it through like that, and then fill this up with PBS. It's alright not to have gloves because it's just PBS, and it's screwed on like this gently, and then it's going through. And what you don't want is you don't want a leak. Unfortunately, we've got a leak here, and it stopped. Good. Right. So then this has then got to be screwed in to position number 1 here. Okay, like this. Just finger tight, and then once you got it in there, just leave it. So now we stopped the leak. We just had to screw it in a bit tighter, and this is set up in position 1 from 1A to 1B, and we're just flushing it through with PBS at the moment. Now we're going to change this to the media here, big bottle of it, and we've got 2 liters of it, and we're going to pump this 2 liters over that little column there. And our immunoglobulin, which in this case is CJW9D5, which is now G2B, will stick to that column, and everything else will go past it. and then we'll elute it with pyruvic buffer here, which is at pH 2.4. Okay, so we've got it. So first we've just got to equilibrate it for a little bit, and then we'll put the medium on, and then we'll show you what that looks like. Okay, it's doing it now. Yeah. So here we're just pumping PBS across the column and into the waste. Okay, and you can see this. You can see the pH has come up to about 7.4, and here's the sample flow. So it's doing good. Now what it'll do is it'll prime the A line and then the B1 line, the A1 line and the B1 line, and then it'll give us a warning, and we'll put our sample line, this one, into the medium, and then we're pumping at about 5 mils a minute, and we'll pump those 2 liters across the column, and that should work. Okay, thank you. And so now we're sucking from this bottle here, and we're putting it onto the column over here, and you can see it's going red, and so that's a good sign. And we're collecting our waste down here. Okay, so this is good. Right, fantastic. Thank you. So we're back from the lab, and I left the protocol where we were pumping the hybridoma supernatant onto the column, and the column went nice and red. Now it's pumping at 5 mils a minute, and we've got about 2,000 mils to go across. So during the night, an air bubble entered the tubing as the hybridoma supernatant ran out, and this was detected by the AKTA Pure 150, and it triggered it to swap from the sample line to phosphate buffered saline and pump 15 column volumes of phosphate buffered saline across the protein G column. So the OD280, OD280 is a proxy for the protein concentration, dropped very, very quickly to 0. And then at the end of those 15 column volumes, we switched across to 100 millimolar pyruvate buffer at pH 2.4. And what this does is it elutes immunoglobulin from the protein G. Then we catch 4 mil fractions into 1.15 mils of 1 molar trisine buffer at pH 8.2. So this immediately protects the immunoglobulin from the acid, and neutralizes the acid to about pH 7.5. And then once this is finished, the column's then washed with PBS, and then washed with water, and then washed into 20% ethanol. Mainly, the 20% ethanol is there to stop bacteria from growing in the column matrix and in the tubing. Then we collect and pull the fractions of an high OD 280, and I choose anything above about 0.2. And then these are further concentrated for direct labeling with NHS dyes. So I'll just show you a profile for 7012, and this is protein G purification. As you can see, this is the end of our 2 liters of hybridoma supernatant being pumped on at 5 mils a minute. It runs out and an air bubble appears in the line, and the AKTA system detects that and switches to PBS, and you see the OD280 here drops down to 0 very quickly. And then after 15 column volumes, and there's no protein there coming off, you switch to the acid, and this is 100 millimolar pyruvate at pH 2.4. And then after about 5 minutes, this really hits the column, and off comes all your immunoglobulin. Okay, so we're taking 4 mil fractions. So really, fractions 3 and 4 have got most of the immunoglobulin here. At relatively high concentration, 2 or 3 mgs a mil. And then you have this long tail here where we just clean off the column with the acid. Then we switch to PBS to get rid of the acid, so we protect the column. Switch to water, and then switch into 20% alcohol in water, and that protects the column. And so we end up with neutralized immunoglobulin in these fractions. So at the bottom of each of these tubes, we've got 1.15 mils of
trypsin. So we end up with very pure immunoglobulin with no free primary amines around, okay? And that's what we really need if we want to go on and directly couple these immunoglobulins with NHS chemistry. And so with that, I'll end.